Good morning. I'm with Chad Peters, CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. RDG on the TSX Venture is the symbol. And Ridgeline has had a very impactful 2025, including a new discovery, the Silver-Lead-Zinc system. Chad, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. Still getting my my morning coffee in me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, we got the best of you. Start fresh with your brain fully turned on. Okay, so let's get into the rest of these assays from hole 53 at Chinchilla Sulfide.
You bet. Let me pull this up. You can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
All right. For folks that are maybe new to the Selena Project, it's just a map of Northern Nevada. Selena's down in the bottom right corner. It's one of our partner projects with South 32. So they can earn up to 80% of the project by spending up to $20 million US, with Ridgeline being the operator. Ridgeline retains a 20% fully carried interest to commercial production in the event that they do fully execute that deal. So it is an exciting deal for the company. And given the results that Rob kind of alluded to there, we're pretty excited about where the project is heading. So here's the project itself. You have the Butte Valley Porphyry, which is a source to our CRD system, or our carbonate replacement silver-lead-zinc system. That is owned by Freeport-McMoRan. The original discovery at Selena is the Chinchilla Oxide zone you see here on the right. And if you zoom in here a bit, the results that we're referring to are the results from our hole 53, which is our discovery hole at our Chinchilla Sulfide target. What we were trying to do with this conceptual target at Chinchilla Sulfide is we took an MT anomaly, or a geophysical anomaly, that suggested those bright colored lines that are drawn on the map there. That is what represents the large conductor, or the MT high, that represents this target. And so South 32 funded a $3.5 million US program this year to test 3 wide-spaced holes, just kind of jumping evenly across that conductor. And our second hole, hole 53, hit considerable massive sulfide grades, which was really exciting. Brand new blind discovery. This is all under gravel cover. This isn't outcropping. We hit up to the highest grade intercept we had was also the shallowest. We had up to 1.1 meter of 27% zinc, 60 grams silver, 1.5 grams gold, 0.7% lead, when we had some copper in there as well. I believe there's 0.01 anomaly too. That looks like a little typo. And then we had up to another zone of 17 meters of 6% zinc, 35 silver with low-grade lead, gold, copper, antimony, and then another 8.6 meters within that of 10.4% zinc, 21 grams gold, and 0.3 lead. Now, that was the original discovery intercept. This is our verify model, so I haven't been able to update that last slide. But what's interesting is that was our first hit, which I thought was pretty darn impressive for a blind discovery. It was a little bit glossed over in the market, which maybe you can help explain to our folks listening there, Rob, why it maybe didn't quite hit the mark right out the gate. But this is a very, very significant intercept and discovery. And if we actually go down to the next slide here, here's what that looks like. And what I want to point out is, well, actually, sorry, here's an even better one to show you. This is the updated version of this guy. Whoops, sorry. Oh, never mind. Going the wrong way. This is the updated slide. And you can see beneath that 8.6 meter intercept, we had another 8.7 meters of 7% zinc, low-grade silver, 13 grams silver, low-grade lead, gold, copper, and antimony. So we've hit multiple massive sulfide horizons. They're 27 meters thick, combined mineralized thickness, which is significant, right? We're talking about essentially, 100 vertical feet of massive sulfide mineralization. So what this has done is it has firmly verified that this, kilometer scale MT anomaly is real. There's a reason why it was lighting up. Obviously, you can see here, you might say, well, why is the MT anomaly a big Easter egg and you hit all these zones right at the top? And the reason is the MT survey, they're just trying, this is a geophysical survey. What it's trying to do is kind of normalize the entire survey, right? So if you have a bunch of stacked sulfide horizons, the MT survey doesn't have high enough resolution to create little thin slices of purple highs, right? So what it does instead is it creates these big circles, right? And says, hey, there's something here. can't rectify it, you know, with the level of resolution the survey can do, but it is identifying something. And that's kind of what we saw here is now that we know, okay, these are hitting higher in the, you know, the sulfide zone is hitting higher in the MT anomaly consistently. You know, that's very exciting. We can go in, we can reprocess the MT now with this new data, and we can start getting a bit higher resolution and start kind of targeting a little more efficiently. So all in all, really exciting hit for us. I don't know, that was our fall. That was the exciting part of it.
Yeah, well, there's actually a lot to unpack there, and you alluded to it. I mean, yeah, so look, the market response was surprising for sure.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. Although, you know, to be fair, RDG had a really nice run in its share price from August to October. And we know, as veteran investors in this sector, there is always a tendency to sell on the news. But it is surprising because actually, when I look at the full assay table for hole 53, this hole is better than I even realized, because you have essentially a 30-meter zone from 942 meters to 970 plus meters, where you have massive or semi-massive sulfides all throughout that 30 plus meter zone. And the grades are exceptional. Now, look, obviously, I would love it to be 700 grams per ton pure silver. I think we'd all love that.
Oh yeah, look, I feel you. And you know what the crazy thing is like we've drilled some really, really impressive intercepts at Chinchilla Oxide in the past, right? Like if you look to the right where my mouse is, I don't know if you can see it, but like hole 45 in smaller text, that hit up to 6 meters of 480 silver, 18% lead zinc, and 0.1 grams gold. So, you know, we have hit those like ultra high grade intercepts that would be, you know, would have had people, you know, jumping into the stock left, right, and center in previous drill programs in the Chinchilla Oxide zone. And this just happened that, you know, in this intercept, very zinc rich. I mean, if you look at the core, right, like this was coming out of the ground, and our team was like, you know, dancing at the rig, like it was incredible, right?
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was.
You know, how did it feel when you're seeing this core come out of this hole for the first time? I can only imagine.
Oh yeah, like Mike Harp, actually the day this was coming out of the ground, Mike Harp, our VP exploration, was at the drill rig picking up the core. And we have Starlink at the drill rig, right? So the drillers had actually been sending a few pictures of like little sniffs of veins, like higher up in the hole, like 30 meters above this zone that I'm looking at right here. And it had little bits of like sphalerite and galena in it. And you could just see little like literally pinpricks of it, right, in the pictures. And so we were starting to get excited. And then as Mike showed up at the rig, they were literally pulling the first tube out of the ground that was this massive sulfide zone. And Mike just called and he was almost screaming into the phone. But yeah, he was excited. We were all, it was a validation of 5 years of working on this project, right? Like we've been maintaining this, you know, this is year 5 now of since we discovered Chinchilla Oxide, which is the original outcropping oxide zone here that you see. You know, I'm pointing the brown stuff. That's potentially open pittable silver. And we had some really significant intercepts. I mean, hole 45 again was 32 meters of 153 grams silver oxide. Above that, hole 47, even shallower, was 60 meters of 70 grams silver and a 2% lead zinc and 0.4 grams gold. I mean, that was a significant discovery just at Chinchilla Oxide in our eyes. And you know, to go in and theorize that, okay, if we drill deeper, just like the you know, Taylor deposit in Arizona, beneath the oxide system and back towards the porphyry, we should hit. And it only, you know, it took years to get it funded and get a group like South 32 in that was willing to take that kind of risk, and to hit it on our second drill hole was phenomenal. And you know, as we all know, these CRD systems are pretty erratic. Erratic in a good way. They're incredibly high grade, but they can be difficult to track until you get that structural architecture figured out, right? Like where is the sulfide? Where are the sulfides hiding on you? So to hit it in only our second hole of our maiden program, It hit all the marks for our partners at South 32. We're incredibly excited. I mean, the chief development officer, Simon Collins of South 32, the day we announced this discovery, publicly congratulated us on the discovery on LinkedIn, and publicly compared this discovery to their Hermosa Taylor deposit, which I have as an overlay here. The red outline here that says Taylor deposit overlay. That's the South 32's Taylor deposit in Arizona. They bought it for $2 billion. It's the world's largest undeveloped zinc deposit. So to have, their chief development officer publicly comparing Selena to their project, I think it's huge. And to continue hitting even more intercepts, like you said, once you kind of got the full picture on this hole, we really realized, okay, this was a very significant drill hole. And I think the market is starting to catch up over time. We've been trading a lot of stock over the last month. Averaging almost 600,000 shares a day, which is pretty significant for us. And the stock has rebounded back from that kind of initial drop on the news, and it started kind of pulling back up. So I think people are starting to realize it's a significant intercept.
Yeah, can you move to the plan view map for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah, so I want to emphasize here that hole 53 is literally the first really deep hole going to 1,000+ meters, into this MT anomaly, and it makes a discovery. So that's a success, period, end of story. And the silver lead zinc grades here, in my opinion, are economic. Yes, we need more of it. Obviously, we want 100 million tons of it, but
right.
If you have 100 million tons of this, you've got a really, really nice ore body. I think South 32 is going to be really happy. And look, I think with the CRDs, and maybe you can add to this, Chad, you need 10 drill holes, 12 drill holes across a pretty wide area to really get a grasp on the zones that might be more silver rich, the zones that might be more zinc rich, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that's a really good point. Actually, I had too many people, more people than I would have thought, calling me the day of the discovery and asking me what our mining method was going to be, right? So I think that maybe shows, people got a little ahead of their skis on it for sure too. What I tried to emphasize was forget about what the mining method is going to be. This is the first intercept into a brand new conceptual discovery. It's fully funded by partners at South 32, who just so happen to be the world expert on these deposits as far as how to mine them, as they're putting South 32 into development. So yeah, we got a little, people got a little bit maybe too focused on, some of these very small details. And I think that maybe hurt things as well a little bit, but you want to see, 10 to 15 drill holes into this to really understand. And it's not like this isn't a big blanket of mineralization like a big porphyry system, right? These things are high grade. They're very structurally controlled because all the fluids that are flowing out of that porphyry, they're flowing along every single open, dilatant fault zone, and they're just literally winding their way through the host rocks. And so you got to get those holes into this to try to get better resolution. From a depth perspective, we hit the first intercept. This guy here, hole 53. It happens to be actually, this is a better angle to look at from this side instead. This is a good example. This is looking the other direction of the hole. You can see that the anomaly is dipping pretty aggressively down to the south, right? And so hole 53 was our deepest potential target hole, right? And it still hit at 950. Now, hole 52A, it actually drilled the opposite direction. It drilled back towards me in the page, right? All the other holes are drilling, away from me, if you want to call it that. They're drilling back towards the east. It was an effort to, we didn't want to, when talking with South 32, we didn't want to create a bias where we were drilling every single hole the same orientation, because, you don't know which way these really erratic ore bodies are behaving, right? So it just so happened that 52A was a near miss. We kind of skinned over top of the system, right? We had a lot of low-grade silver and zinc and a ton of barbecue rock. So we know we need to go back on that same drill pad and drill back the other direction, and we think we'd have a materially different result of the hole. But that intercept right there, you're talking about dramatically shallower, right? 600 meters. Well, that's the same depth to top of target as the Taylor deposit, for example. Taylor goes all the way down to 1,500 plus vertical meters below surface, which would put it exactly in line and actually deeper than the kind of stuff we're drilling here at 900 meters and hole 53. So from a depth perspective, it hits the mark. We believe that the scale of the anomaly suggests that there could be something in here in the range of 50 to 100 million tons, like you said. But you really need to pot sticker this thing with a bunch of holes over the next, 12 to 18 months, which is South 32's intention, I think, to truly understand just how big could it be. So I think that hits it really well. This is just, it's very early days of this as a new discovery. Whoops, wrong slide. Very early days. Lots of potential here, I think, to drill both higher grade intercepts and thicker intercepts. I mean, we only drilled 17 meters here in our highlight intercept, but the actual the main zone at Chinchilla Oxide is typically 30 to 60 meters thick. So, we know we can drill thicker intercepts. We also know we can drill higher intercepts, great intercepts, because we've done both already at Chinchilla Oxide. It's just a matter of drilling more holes, and I think we're going to have some really exciting results next year.
Yeah, and it really is putting the cart before the horse. In fact, that's a bit of an amateur question to ask. What mining method are you going to use after one hole into a new discovery? I mean, the way I see this is this could be open pitted at surface in the oxides.
Yeah.
And then the future owner of the project, maybe South 32, will go underground at some point in year 4 or 5 or 6. And I'm just making that up, just being, it seems like that would be logical. But until you've really got this ore body fully outlined and understood, we shouldn't be talking about mining because we just don't know. It's too early.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think anytime, I 100% agree. I mean, I understand that anytime someone sees it as an intercept, you want to try to compare it to something else. You want to try to put it in some kind of a box that you can say, yes, this is really great, or it's mediocre, or I don't like it. So I understand that folks, are trying to quantify, what does this mean? So but the problem is I agree, is I think largely this initial discovery was maybe missed by a few folks because the difference, I think, was some of my largest shareholders have called and said, especially after I put out the final results and they saw kind of the full column of rock. I think that last PR on the 18th really helped. And they were like, this is phenomenal. I'm buying in the market. I'm building up a bigger position. I know where this is heading. Right. So that was exciting to see from folks who've been a part of, one of my largest investors was the second largest investor in the Voisey's Bay. The Voisey's Bay discovery back in the nickel PGE discovery up in Labrador, and that was a $4 billion takeout. He was the second largest investor. So when he kind of says, I know where this is going, I'm excited, I'll be buying in the market. That's all I need to hear right now. I think as we drill more holes, I'll get less questions about, how is this going to be mined, and more about, wow, this is exciting. Tell me, where's the next hole going, right? So I think that'll, once it firmly kind of has some multiple intercepts into it, that'll help.
Yeah. So what can you tell us about hole 54, which according to the last news release just a few days ago, actually, is in progress. And what can you tell us about the plans for 2026?
Yeah, so hole 54, it was complete. We actually wrapped up and winterized everything on the 20th. So December 20th. So everyone's on Christmas break right now. The hole tested at least the base all the way through the Gilmet, which is our primary host. That's kind of the main unit that hosted, the intercept in hole 53, as well as all of Chinchilla Oxide. And we're actually going to be coming back and doing a borehole EM survey on both hole 54 and hole 53 in the new year. That's the intention anyways. We still got to get the contractor figured out. So hopefully they have to mobilize out of Canada, I think, to do it. So hopefully they have the availability. We're working on that now. But what that borehole EM will do, and you're wearing a Talon Metals hat, so I love that, because Talon has a massive sulphide, obviously an incredible deposit. And they've been able to effectively use borehole EM to track these sulphide systems at depth. And so when I was saying, these things are erratic and we're trying, it's going to take a few holes to figure out the architecture of the system, using that borehole EM is a bit of a cheat code for us, because what we can do is that borehole EM will actually pick up that exact that 17-meter zone is a thick enough sulfide zone that's going to light up, and we're actually going to be able to start seeing outside of that drill hole. And ideally, we'll be able to look at it and be like, oh, okay, this is the way this zone seems to be dipping. We have another hit that gets us excited. Let's say at 54, right? Another EM anomaly here, so we're going to drill a follow-up hole beneath it, or to the to the west of it, or to the east. Those are the kind of things that actually do dramatically help when you're drilling these kind of deep holes. 1,200-1,500 meter drill holes. Any kind of data you can use to make yourself a little bit better, a little bit more accurate with your targeting, can save you a ton of money. So I think that'll be a major change for us next year, as well, as we're going to have that downhole, a remodeled MT anomaly to go along with a borehole EM anomaly in multiple holes. And I think that'll be big for us.
Okay. And then once you do that downhole surveying, I guess you'll make a plan for how many holes and how many meters will be drilled in 2026.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to drill so the assays are off to the lab in 54. So sometime in January, I'll be able to have those out to the market. And next year we're going to drill a production water well. I can show you where that's going. So we're going to drill a production water well, which is kind of up near where that hole 37 little circle is. Just to the left of that. So that water well will save us a ton of money next year. And we're probably going to drill, it looks like, about anywhere from 4 to 6 holes to start that are going to be fully funded by South 32. But the great thing, the thing that has us excited is, they've kind of made it clear that if we're having success, they don't intend for the drill rig to stop, right? So the 4 to 6 holes that we're, currently targeting, that can potentially just be the start if we continue having success. And we're starting drilling in April or May, which again will get us results sooner, which means if we're having success, we can extend the program, add more rigs, you name it, right? But there's that we have that flexibility when we have partners like South 32 that are very excited about the discovery and are ready to keep on funding it if it has success. So it should be a really exciting year next year.
Very good.
Yeah.
And let's move over to Swift and the Fourmile wannabe, the Fourmile analog.
If it was a quarter of Fourmile, it'd be one of the best gold deposits still in North America. So that's anything in the Fourmile area would be incredibly exciting. So
so what's going on at Swift? Is there an entire hole at the lab still?
Yes. Yeah. So this is the Cortez district. If we're just looking at this big map here, the main takeaway, the Fourmile project is down to the bottom right of the screen. I have to update this. I've been lazy here. It's actually more like, I think, 15 million ounces now of 13 grams per ton or something silly. Like the new and growing. The new PEA that they put out is just incredible. And so that is down in the Gold Rush section or fault block of the Cortez trend. You go all the way to the other side of the Cortez trend, about 35, 40 kilometers, and you have our Swift project. And so, like you said, we would love for us to have another Fourmile discovery on our hands. And it is actually turning into something pretty exciting for us. So last year, NGM, Nevada Gold Mines, our partners, drilled up to 2.7 meters of 7 grams. And within that, we had over a meter of 10.4 grams. That was really significant. I think anytime you get anything over 10 grams per ton, in Nevada, in Carlin type systems, that you're onto something pretty significant. They were following up with, we zoom in here on that corner of the screen, kind of a little difficult to see, but that hole 006, I'll zoom in a bit for you. Hole 006 hit that red star right where my mouse is. What we've been doing this year is the first hole stepped down into the south, then we're stepping up to the north, and then there's pre-collars that are drilled in 3 and 4, right? So, the whole intention can we go in, can we find something, can we find another 10-meter intercept, but hopefully, 10 gram intercept, but hopefully it's 5, 10 meters, 20 meters thick, right? So we've been waiting, and we've had assays at the lab, waiting to go to the lab for a long time now. And I think that's a good way to kind of tie back into Fourmile. Fourmile has 22 drill rigs operating right now at it. So 22 deep hole rigs, all fully funded by Barrick. And they are just inundating labs in Nevada with samples. So NGM has a contract with their own kind of third-party lab, but they funded the building of that lab. So essentially it's their own, all of their samples flow through that on a priority basis. And the wording I got back was, we want to know what the assays are, just as bad as you guys, but Fourmile takes priority, right? So with 22 drill rigs going, our samples, as well as I'm sure lots of samples from other projects, have just gotten pushed to the side. So I've gotten confirmation that our samples are now are in process, if you want to call it that. So at least they're in line at the lab, which is a huge start. But yeah, it's been it's been a little frustrating for sure, because obviously we want to get news out to the market. For us, every drill hole matters, right? For NGM, they could care less whether they got, whole 8 samples in January or February, or whether they get them in December. It really doesn't matter to them. So yeah, we are kind of battling a bit of that kind of just, not being at the top of the list. But we have been told they are in the lab, which is great. So hopefully we get results in the new year.
So Swift is secretly my favorite project in the Ridgeline portfolio, and that's probably because I think it has the most potential for upside, right?
Totally. Yeah.
It's the right location for a gold discovery. So if God willing, there is a hole that comes, like you said, 10 grams plus over a good interval, then it's game on in a big way, because you couldn't really get a better location. All right, so that's the update on the 2 flagship projects. Yep. I'll give you the final word, Chad. What can shareholders expect from the company in 2026?
Well, yeah. So, this year was a huge year for us, right? As far as spending, we had $9.5 million in partner funded spending, which the time we were doing the drilling was actually almost our entire market cap. So we have had a nice run kind of to get us back up a bit. But, for example, at Swift, they've now spent $15 million through the end of the year. They have to spend $20 million total by December 31st of next year just to earn 60% of the project. I think that's important to point out. Ridgeline is the 100% owners of Swift right now, and NGM has to spend another $5 million, or else we get the project back. And with results like we've seen already, that's not if it did come back into my hands, I know exactly what we would do with it next. So, I don't think that's going to happen, but what you're going to see is a minimum of $5 million going in the ground next year, which should be at least 4 to 5 holes, continuing to follow up on this exciting new discovery in Southwest Swift. And again, at Selena, you're going to see, I think, around 4 to 5 million US being spent. So just, next year alone, you're going to see probably 9 to 10 million US, all fully funded by partners, both of which are, new discoveries. We just want to see how big and how high grade they could be. So yeah, it's going to be another big year, lots of news flow. And yeah, I'm excited to see some good drill holes come out of both.
All right, Chad, thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You too.